watched a horror movie and, well, there is always that one inevitable scene, right? Where the main character is just standing at the top of the stairs, staring down into some pitch black basement.
Oh, yeah. And you just know it is a terrible idea.
Right. And you were just sitting there on your couch, screaming at your screen like, do not go down there. What are you doing? It is such a classic, frustrating trope.
It really is. But, I mean, we enjoy it because we feel safe.
Exactly. We are completely separated from the danger by a screen. We are just the observer sitting in our comfortable living rooms. But what happens when that dynamic gets completely flipped?
Yeah, when the safety net is gone.
Right. What happens when millions of people are watching that descent into the dark basement live, and the act of watching itself becomes the actual trap?
It is a genuinely terrifying psychological shift. You take the ultimate safety net we rely on when consuming media, the screen itself, and you just completely dismantle it.
Yeah.
The audience goes from being this, passive, insulated spectator into an active, very vulnerable participant.
Okay, let's unpack this because that is the core of our deep dive today. We are looking at a massive piece of internet folklore, a viral digital story known as the Blackthorne feed. Don't let it see you.
Such a fascinating case study.
It really is. And our mission here isn't just to recap a ghost story for you. We want to analyze the really fascinating intersection of modern streaming culture, the psychology of the viewer, and this terrifying concept of interactive horror.
I would call it a masterclass in modern urban legends, honestly.
Yeah.
It takes the mechanics of the internet that we use every single day, like live streams, chat rooms, timestamps, and it weaponizes them to build an entirely new kind of dread.
So to set the stage here, the center of this whole phenomenon is a streamer named Ethan Vale. Now, Ethan built this massive, incredibly lucrative career on what we could call the fake fear economy.
The fake fear economy.
Yeah. He explores haunted hotels, abandoned hospitals, cursed forests, all that stuff. But his whole brand, like the main reason millions of people tune in is that he laughs at the darkness.
He completely mocks the paranormal.
Exactly. He goes to places normal people actively avoid, and he treats the whole thing like a complete joke.
Which is precisely why his audience is so fiercely dedicated to him. Ethan acts as a proxy for the viewer's own bravado, Think about how we process fear.
Okay.
By laughing at the dark, Ethan neutralizes the threat for his viewers. He provides a highly controlled environment where his audience can experience a thrill without any actual, biological risk.
Right. They get the adrenaline rush, but stay safe.
Exactly. His supreme confidence is quite literally his currency in the creator economy.
So on October 14th, he decides to spend that currency at a place called the Blackthorne House. And this location is just pure Americana horror.
Oh, absolutely textbooks.
Yeah, it is sitting deep in northern Pennsylvania, surrounded by dead trees, rotting fencing, and it's miles from the nearest town. And the folklore from the 1970s is just brutal.
It's intense.
We're talking about entire families vanishing without a trace, neighbors claiming to see children's faces in the upper windows of this empty house, and there is a very specific rumor anyone who stays inside past midnight hears footsteps following them from room to room.
It really presents the perfect stage for someone like Ethan. I mean, it has all the atmospheric, classic elements of a traditional haunting, but he is going to package it for a modern digital audience.
Just to prove how silly it all is.
Right, exactly.
So he goes live to nearly 2 million viewers, and his stated goal is to prove the Blackthorne lore is just complete nonsense. And at first, the stream is exactly what you would expect.
Just normal Ethan.
Yeah, he is walking through disty furniture, collapsed ceilings, old graffiti. He is making jokes, and the chat is just a waterfall of laughing emojis. Everyone is having a great time.
Building up that false sense of security.
Totally. But I look at this setup, and it reminds me of an illusionist who gets a little too comfortable performing incredibly dangerous stunts. You do it enough times, you get sloppy, and eventually the safety net is going to fail.
That is a great analogy.
I just wonder, is this kind of content popular specifically because the audience feels safe knowing it is all fake? Or do you think people secretly tune in hoping to see the creator's arrogance finally punished?
You are hitting on the ultimate tension in this kind of entertainment. There is this unspoken social contract between a streamer like Ethan and his audience.
Right.
The viewer agrees to suspend their disbelief and play along with the spooky atmosphere, and in return, the streamer silently guarantees that at the end of the day, everything is fine. It is just a show.
But there is a flip side to that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Human nature has a much darker side. Consider the psychological concept of Schadenfreude, finding genuine pleasure in another person's misfortune.
Yeah, like waiting for the train wreck.
Exactly. When someone is that arrogant, constantly mocking the unknown and acting invincible, a small, quiet part of the audience is absolutely watching, just in case the universe decides to push back. They want to be there for the slip-up.
Well, the universe pushes back extremely hard in this broadcast. And it brings us to the exact moment that social contract just completely shatters.
The nursery.
Yes, Ethan is walking through the house and he reaches a second-floor nursery. The camera is on him, but it is capturing the hallway behind his shoulder. And suddenly, the tone of the entire stream just fractures.
It changes in an instant.
Thousands of viewers in the chat simultaneously see an incredibly tall shape standing completely still in the hallway behind him, just watching him.
Notice the shift in power dynamics here. The audience sees the threat before the protagonist does. That is a classic dramatic irony technique, sure. But executing it in a live stream format makes the audience frantic in a very unique way.
Because they can actually try to warn him.
Exactly. The chat box gives the viewer an illusion of control. They're typing warnings, they're mashing their keyboards to tell them to turn around, but they are entirely powerless to actually intervene. The steering wheel isn't connected to the car.
Right. Ethan finally turns around because his chat monitor is just exploding with warnings. But the shape is gone.
Of course.
He laughs it off. He calls it a nice troll, trying to blame someone in his crew or a viewer pulling a prank. But you can physically see the crack in his armor.
Oh, yeah.
His voice wavers, his confidence weakens, and the audience immediately smells the blood in the water. The fear becomes genuine.
And once that currency of confidence goes bankrupt, the narrative accelerates. The audience realizes they are no longer watching a tightly controlled performance. They are watching a crisis unfold in real time, and they are tethered to it.
But instead of just jumping straight to a monster chase, the escalation from there relies incredibly heavily on sensory details.
It is so well paced.
It really is. It starts small, doors opening softly in distant rooms. Then the microphones pick up the faint sound of children whispering. Shadows are moving in rooms where there are absolutely no light sources to cast them.
Just building that ambient dread.
And then we hit the absolute breaking point. It is 1:43 a.m. Something whispers Ethan's name directly behind him. He spins around, his flashlight is shaking violently across the darkness, and he says the line that changes the broadcast forever. I didn't bring anyone with me.
That is the point of no return for the broadcast.
I am so struck by the use of audio horror in this sequence. We are such visual creatures, normally. Why is a captured whisper on microphones so much more deeply unsettling to a digital audience than, like, a visual jump scare?
To understand that, you really have to look at the mechanics of binaural audio and human biology. Our brains are hardwired for survival.
Okay, how so?
Well, we calculate the microsecond delay between a sound hitting our left ear versus our right ear to determine exactly where a threat is located in physical space. A visual jump scare happens over there on a flat, two-dimensional screen.
Right, it's separated from us.
But think about how we consume digital content today. Millions of those viewers are watching this stream on their phones or laptops wearing headphones. When that whisper happens on a sensitive microphone, it hacks our biological software.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the audio is piped directly into the ear canals. A binaural whisper tricks your brain into believing the sound originated millimeters from your own physical neck.
That is awful.
It really is. It drags the audience out of their passive observer role and physically places them into the dark house, right alongside Ethan.
You are essentially wearing the haunted house on your head.
Precisely.
And because the threat has moved from a subtle auditory warning into this undeniable oppressive reality, Ethan panics. He is forced to flee, and he makes the classic horror mistake. He runs upward, he goes to the attic, cutting off his only exits.
Architecturally, moving to the attic represents pure isolation. But it is what happens to the environment itself that is so fascinating.
Yes. The physical environment completely defies physics. The archived footage shows that the stairs leading up looked wrong, like too steep, too narrow. The darkness up there looks almost solid.
The stream degradation starts here too.
Right. As he climbs, the digital stream itself starts to degrade. The static flickers, the audio crackles into these distorted bursts. And then he gets inside, and the attic stretches wider and deeper than the house should physically allow.
It makes no spatial sense.
Exactly. It is an impossible depth that just disappears into the darkness beyond his flashlight beam. To me, looking at this impossible geometry, it feels exactly like a video game boundary glitch.
How do you mean?
You know when you force your character outside the intended map of a video game? You click through a wall and suddenly the textures don't load, the physics don't make sense, and you are just floating in this endless wrong void.
Oh, I see.
It feels like Ethan has walked out of bounds of reality. The rules of physics have just stopped loading.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. In game design, if a player clips into a space they were never meant to access, the engine stops rendering lighting and gravity because it's trying to save memory.
Right.
Here, the attic is an unrendered space. It is a concept of spatial horror. The physical reality of the house is breaking down, mirroring the corruption of the digital stream itself.
Because it shouldn't exist.
Exactly. The universe hasn't bothered to code the physics in that attic because nobody was ever supposed to be up there. It leaves both Ethan and the audience completely unmoored.
And it is in this impossible, unrendered space that the encounter happens. There is old furniture covered in white sheets, children's toys scattered around. And then heavy breathing.
Just off camera.
Somewhere just beyond the camera, Ethan is terrified. He is whispering now, asking the chat. You guys hear that? The chat is just a blur of people screaming at him to run, and then his flashlight hits the far wall.
The warning.
Yes. There are words painted in black, written thousands of times across the wood, "Don't let it see you."
It is a physical manifestation of the folklore. The entity is providing an explicit set of rules, a literal instruction manual painted on the wall.
But in a blind panic, how is anyone supposed to follow that? Slow, heavy footsteps start moving toward him. The camera is shaking violently as Ethan backs away, and then the flashlight beam catches it for less than a single second.
It's so fast.
It is a tall figure standing impossibly still in the darkness between the hanging sheets. It is too thin. Its long arms dangle nearly to the floor, and its face is completely hidden except for two pale, reflective eyes.
The brevity of that glimpse is crucial. By only showing it for a fraction of a second, the narrative forces the audience's imagination to fill in the rest of the horror.
Because your brain makes it worse.
Always. The brain will always paint a far more terrifying picture than a camera ever could.
Ethan screams. The camera falls sideways. The viewers are just watching the chaotic blur of the attic floor while Ethan runs off screen. We hear his footsteps thundering away, and then dead silence.
Until that final sound.
Until one final sound echoes softly through the live stream. It is not Ethan. It is something else leaning in and whispering directly into the microphone. He looked. And the stream ends.
It is a devastating cliffhanger. The entity acknowledges that the rule on the wall was violated. The consequence is immediate and absolute.
The next morning, the authorities investigate the property. No sign of Ethan anywhere. His cameras are scattered around the house, still recording nothing but static. But they find two sets of fresh footprints in the thick dust of the attic.
This detail is so unsettling.
It is. One set belongs to Ethan. The other set looks almost human, but impossibly long, like something walking on stretched limbs. No body is ever found.
And of course, the internet reacts how the internet reacts.
Exactly, because this is the internet. Most fans eventually assume it was just an elaborate, staged publicity stunt. They convince themselves it was a really well-executed piece of fiction.
Which brings us back to the comfort of denial. The audience rationalizes the event to regain their sense of safety.
They need it to be fake.
Yeah, they convinced themselves it was all a performance, desperately trying to reestablish that broken social contract we talked about earlier.
Well, they convinced themselves right up until 3 weeks later. There is a complete 3-week gap of nothing. And then, at exactly 3:03 a.m., Ethan's channel automatically goes live again.
Out of nowhere.
No warning, no announcement on social media. But the internet algorithms do their thing, the push notifications go out, and over 11 million viewers join within minutes.
That exponential growth in viewership from 2 million to 11 million is a crucial detail. It highlights the viral nature of morbidity in digital culture.
Let's talk about what those 11 million people are actually watching, because it is macabre. Ethan is sitting in darkness. He is completely motionless. His face is pale and hollow under this really weak light.
He looks awful.
His eyes are bloodshot. His lips are cracked. He is just staring directly into the camera lens, whispering the same phrase repeatedly. "Don't let it see you." Again and again.
He has been reduced from an arrogant, charismatic entertainer to a broken, automated warning system.
And the chat is exploding. People are begging him to move, to explain where he has been, to call for help. He ignores all of it. And then the true terror begins.
Movement.
The viewers start noticing movement behind him in the darkness. A tall shadow is passing behind Ethan repeatedly, and every time it crosses, it is slightly closer. And the chat does what the internet does best. They start cataloging it.
The timestamps.
Yes, the community actually went back and crowdsourced the timestamps of the horror. 0.04.13 movement behind the chair, 0.04.26 shape near the wall, 0.04.41 eyes visible.
This is a profound observation on how we process trauma digitally. The audience's default reaction to an active nightmare is to data mine it.
It gets worse. We hit the 0.07.02 mark. Ethan, who has been staring unblinkingly for 7 minutes, finally blinks, and for a single terrifying frame, his eyes reflect white, exactly like the creature from the attic.
That is the moment the infection becomes visible. Ethan isn't just trapped by the entity, he's being assimilated by it.
But I am struggling with this entirely. I look at the staggering jump in viewership, 11 million people. The chat is in complete hysteria, but nobody is leaving.
Right.
Put yourself in the shoes of one of those viewers. You are sitting in the dark scrolling on your phone. You see a man being actively tortured. The logical thing is to close the tab or call the police. But 11 million people refuse to look away. Are you telling me the viewers are just paralyzed by fear, or is the story saying they are actively guilty?
The story is absolutely indicting the viewer. It raises a deeply uncomfortable question about voyeurism in the digital age. It is the digital equivalent of a Roman Colosseum.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
The audience is trapped in a paradox. They're terrified, yet they're compelled to watch because the screen provides a false sense of immunity. They think, I am just a witness, I am miles away, I am not responsible.
But they are giving it an audience.
Exactly. By providing the audience, by validating the broadcast with their unwavering attention, they are the ones sustaining the nightmare.
It is massive digital rubbernecking at a horrific car crash. And that complicity pays off in the most terrifying way possible during the climax, because the dynamic flips one last time. We move from the viewers watching the creature to the creature acknowledging the viewer.
The ultimate breaking of the fourth wall.
At the 0.09.17 mark of the stream, the moving figure behind Ethan finally stops. It is standing directly behind his chair. It is so impossibly tall that its head vanishes beyond the top edge of the camera frame.
Just looming over him.
Long fingers come down and rest gently on Ethan's shoulders. Ethan stops whispering. He doesn't move his body, but he slowly looks upwards, staring at whatever is towering above him. He begins to cry violently. And then he delivers one final warning directly to the camera lens. It knows you're watching. The stream immediately dies.
It is a brilliant subversion. The entity isn't just haunting Ethan anymore, it is haunting the broadcast itself.
The digital forensics and the aftermath of this are what elevate this from a scary internet legend to absolute nightmare fuel.
Oh, the forensics are incredible.
The authorities trace the Livestream signal. It originates from the Blackthorne House. The police rush back, but the mansion is completely empty. Dust covers every room, entirely untouched, except for the attic.
Right.
In the attic, they find Ethan's Livestream setup still running. The camera, the chair, the lights. But no Ethan.
He has been entirely erased from physical reality, leaving only the digital artifacts behind. But the investigation of those artifacts is where the true horror lies. I'm sure you saw the 2 final forensic clues they recovered.
Wait, I know they looked at the camera, but what did they actually find?
Well, first, investigators found fresh fingerprints on the camera lens, but they were on the outside of the lens.
Hold on, on the outside of the lens, you mean the camera wasn't sitting on a tripod on a desk? Something was physically holding it the whole time?
Precisely. Which means the static camera angle the 11 million viewers assumed was just a tripod was actually a point of view shot from the entity itself. The monster was the one filming Ethan.
Oh my god, that changes the entire context of the video.
It does. But the second clue is the real mechanical twist of the narrative. Digital forensic teams reviewed the archived, frame-by-frame footage of that final stream, and they discovered something mathematically impossible about the creature moving in the background before it grabbed the camera.
What was it?
It wasn't moving naturally. By tracking the server logs and the precise timing of the creature's steps, they realized the entity was only getting closer whenever viewers looked away from the screen.
Wait, what? How is that even possible?
It takes the premise of quantum observation, the observer effect in physics, and weaponizes it. In quantum mechanics, observing a particle actually changes its behavior. The universe acts differently when it is being watched.
Okay, I follow that.
This story takes that complex physics concept and applies it to 11 million people. The collective attention of those viewers was the only thing holding the monster back. It was paralyzed by their gaze.
So every time someone blinked...
Exactly. Every time someone blinked, Every time a viewer glanced away to check a text message or type a timestamp in the chat, the creature used those microseconds of inattention to take a step closer. The audience literally controlled the monster's movements through their collective lapses in attention.
That is the ultimate betrayal of the audience. Suddenly, the title, Don't Let It See You, has a completely different meaning.
It really does.
So what does this all mean when we take a step back? The Blackthorne feed so brilliantly subverts the true crime and ghost hunting genres that dominate our feeds right now. We consume this content because we want the adrenaline without the consequence. But this story weaponizes the safety of the screen.
It turns the very act of consuming content into an act of profound danger.
Yes. It says you are not safe just because you are behind a monitor. By watching, you are part of the ecosystem.
It forces us to question our own digital consumption habits. We scroll endlessly, we watch, we consume trauma and horror as casual entertainment, assuming a fundamental detachment from the events on our screens.
Like it can't touch us.
Right. This narrative strips that insulation away entirely, suggesting that human attention itself is a tangible, powerful, and potentially dangerous force.
And that brings me to a final, lingering thought that I just cannot shake since going through this digital folklore. Think about the logistics of the internet for a second. Millions of people lost connection when that final stream vanished.
Right.
But the chat logs explicitly note that thousands of viewers had already screen-recorded copies of the broadcast. Those files still exist.
Yes, archived forever in the digital footprint. Once something is downloaded, you cannot put it back in the bottle.
Exactly. Thousands of archived video files of that final stream sitting on hard drives and cloud servers all over the world. Now, if the forensic teams are right, if the physics of this creature dictate that it only moves when people look away from the screen, what is that creature doing right now while those video files sit unwatched in the dark?
That is a deeply unsettling proposition. It implies the haunting didn't end when the live stream cut out. It merely went dormant, waiting in the archives.
Thank you so much for taking this depth dive with us today. Next time you fire up a live stream or find yourself tumbling down a late-night internet rabbit hole, remember to keep questioning what you consume. And perhaps just to be safe, remember to keep your eyes on the screen.